I'm Jill from Jill's Home Remedies, and today I'm going to make a plantain tincture to get me prepared and ready for the winter that I want to use for the winter. And so I was going to first show you what a plantain plant looked like. Some people just seeing pictures isn't good enough. You know, actually seeing it on video might be easier. I just pulled it up from the roots. It's a smooth plant. It's not hairy or furry. It has raised veins in the back that you can feel. You can rub your fingers across it and you can actually feel the veins. And you can hear the rooster in the background. And in the late summer and fall, it starts to grow the seeds. There's a stem on a lot of them, not all of them. There's several plants around here that I even picked today that did not have the seeds on them, but it'll grow stems with seeds on them. But the spring and the summer it won't have the seeds. So the main thing to look for is just the smooth leaves with the raised veins on the back. And some plants get really big. I've seen some really big plants with 7 or 8 veins on the back. And down towards the bottom of the stems, a lot of times there's kind of a purplish reddish color. But this is plantain. A lot of people refer to it as a weed. And I don't like to call the weed because you think of weeds as being useless. They have nothing good that you can do with them. But a plantain is a very useful plant. And what I'm going to do, I've picked some plantain here in my yard, and I've washed it inside already. And what I'm going to do is just to break it up and put it in this jar like this. Just break it up. You want to break it up, or you can crush it if you like. You just want to bruise the leaves so that it gets the properties going, releases the properties to make it an effective tincture. And you can crush it with the jar. Sometimes I do both. It just depends on, you know, what I feel like doing. Or you can crush it, you can tear it, just whatever you want to do. Just as long as you're bruising the leaves so that it releases the properties when it's making the tincture. And I like to make the tincture for the winter because obviously plantain is not going to be available in the winter. And there's things I like to use it for in the winter. One is to put it on my face to remove impurities. You know, if you have acne or you have acne scars and you want to remove the blemishes and the acne scars and things like that, you can put it on your face. And I like to do this in the winter because it's not good to be out in the sun when you've been using vinegar on your face. You can burn easier, and so I like to do this more in the winter. And so that's one thing I like to use it for, just kind of pull all the impurities out of my face. That's a good thing. And another thing it's good for is spider bites. Plantain is an astringent. It will pull out poisons. So if you got bit by a brown recluse or anything, poisonous, you can put it on, you can soak it, you can soak a cloth in it and put it on that bite, and it will draw out the poison. The sooner the better, obviously. We want poison out as soon as possible. This is great for any kind of stings, a wasp or a bee sting or a bug bite. You can hold it on there, like I said, just soaking it with something, and get the cat off. Soaking it with something and with a rag and putting it on there, leaving it on, just continuously. If you have a snake bite or spider bite, there's people that use this for, snake bites even. You can put it in a bowl and soak the part in it that got bit, whether it was a snake or a spider. And so anyways, I'm just breaking this up, and it's also good for poison ivy. And most people think you can't get poison ivy in the winter, but you can. And my husband is very allergic to poison ivy, and so he catches it in the winter most of the time. I can't think of a winter that he hasn't. He does a lot of work outdoors in the winter and things like that, and so he catches it in the winter. So I like to have this on hand. And for poison ivy, this burns, and so you might not be able to get your kids to do this, but if I have poison ivy, you scratch the poison ivy, and this just makes it dry up quicker. You scratch the poison ivy and you put this tincture on it. And of course, you make sure you don't double dip. What I like to do is put the tincture in a squeeze bottle, and I can squeeze it onto a cotton ball, so it's a clean way to do it. You just rub it on the poison ivy and it burns really bad. I can tolerate it. My kids have a hard time. So it just depends, but after the first time that I used it on poison ivy, it dried it up, and then I just put it on or it didn't dry it up completely, but it started drying it up. It took away the itch completely after the first application, and then I continued to put it on there 2 or 3 times a day until it was completely gone. It just worked great for poison ivy, so I like it for that too. So with fresh herb, you want to fill up the jar. If I were to have dried plantain, if you want to make this in the winter, if you just don't live somewhere that has plantain, as far as you live in a small apartment, then you can buy dried plantain. And so what I like to do is just fill it up to cover the herb. And if you had a dried herb, you're going to fill a jar about halfway with the herb and then fill it up with the vinegar. But if you have a fresh herb, then you fill it up more and you want to cover it with the vinegar. And so what you're going to do, it's that simple. It's absolutely that simple. And I forgot to bring out a lid that's big enough for this. I just have a smaller lid. But what you would do is you would just cover it with the lid, and you would shake this, every day for fresh herb for about 2 weeks. You would shake it every day. And I have a tincture here that's already been sitting with fresh plantain. And so what I'm going to do is just pour it up here. You can use cheesecloth to do this. I just have this on hand. You can use a clean white cotton t-shirt to strain it. You don't want to use a colored t-shirt because you don't want the dyes to get into your tincture. That wouldn't make a good tincture. So I just pour it up like this, and you want to strain it. Okay, so you want to strain all the liquid out, and then you simply just put the lid on it, and this is your plantain tincture. You can store it in the refrigerator. They recommend storing vinegar tinctures in the refrigerator for about 6 months. So that's why I like to do it in the winter, right for the winter, because it'll last me until spring when I can get fresh plantain. And you want to make sure when you're using this, whenever you're making your tincture, that you don't put it in direct sunlight. You want to keep it stored in a cabinet somewhere, or in a basement, as long as it's a good temperature. You don't want it to get too cold or too hot, just a comfortable temperature. And like I said, you shake it every day for about 2 weeks. It should be done in about 2 weeks, and then you just strain up just like this, and you have your plantain tincture.